Nadine Thornhill, sexuality educator. Where have I been? Where I've been is right here. I've just been doing a few different things. I completed my workshop, How to Teach Kids About Consent. That is available online. I will put a link in the eye and down below. Then it was my birthday. I took a few days off. Then I got sick. Then Trump got elected and I needed a minute. And now I'm back, but I'm sick again. Who gets 2 colds in 1 month? Me, apparently. Despite the fact that I feel a bit of a mess and I look a bit of a mess, I did want to come on and do this video. I didn't want to put it off anymore because, as you know, and as I just mentioned, Donald Trump is going to be the President of the United States of America. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about it for so many reasons. Some folks are less concerned. Some folks are saying, you know what? Wait and see. Give Trump a chance. Maybe it will be okay. That is a stance that someone can take. And in particular, if you happen to be a white, cisgender, straight, affluent man, you probably don't have a lot to lose by just waiting and seeing what happens. I, on the other hand, am a black woman. I'm not comfortable waiting to see what could happen because I'm afraid that what's going to happen is going to be a disaster. So today, I want to talk about things that you and I can do, specifically supporting organizations that do the work that we believe in. I'm going to do this video in 2 parts. Today's going to be part 1, and it's going to be organizations in the United States that support work around sexuality, sexual health, reproductive health, sex education, and also organizations that support people who are probably going to need a little extra love and support during these next few years of Trump. This is by no means a comprehensive list of organizations. These are just sort of a few of my favorites. I'm going to tell you, what the institutions are, what they do, how you can support them, and why they need support, especially during a Trump presidency. First up, the Kinsey Institute. It's a research institute at the University of Indiana named for famed sexuality researcher Alfred Kinsey. The Kinsey Institute has several funds for different projects, and you can donate to any or all of them. And if you live near the University of Indiana, they occasionally also have volunteer opportunities. Sexuality research is foundational to sex education. Without research, educators like me would not have any information to share with you. Unfortunately, it's pretty tough for sexuality researchers to get grant money to fund their work, even under more liberal Democratic administrations. Now that the Republicans are pretty much running everything, it's going to be that much harder. Private donations and volunteer work are needed, maybe now more than ever. Lambda Legal. Lambda is America's oldest organization working towards the recognition of the full civil rights of gender and sexually diverse people and people living with HIV. They do advocacy, they do public policy work, they do education, they do litigation, and they never charge the clients that they represent. Lambda doesn't receive any federal funding. They rely entirely on private donations. If you'd like to donate money, you can make a one-time contribution or sign up to make an ongoing contribution. You can also get involved by volunteering time at one of their events, by signing one of their petitions, or by supporting one of their many advocacy campaigns. As we speak, Donald Trump is staffing the White House with people who have a history of anti-gay, anti-trans bigotry. This includes Vice President Mike Pence, who, among other things, supports conversion therapy for gay people. Organizations like Lambda Legal will work to protect gender and sexually diverse Americans, even if the government won't. The National Center for Transgender Equality. The National Center for Transgender Equality fights to change policies for the advancement and equality of transgender Americans. They've spearheaded projects like the Racial and Economic Justice Initiative and the Trans Legal Services Network. The National Center for Transgender Equality has several petitions that you can sign. You can also donate by making a one-time contribution Or if your coins are stacked for it, a recurring contribution. Are you confident that Trump is going to advocate for the civil rights of transgender Americans? I'm not. The advocacy work that groups like the National Center for Transgender Equality do is going to be essential in these next 4 or, Lord help us, 8 years. It's going to be especially important for Black trans and Native American trans folks who are more likely to face discrimination and violence than almost any other group in the US. Planned Parenthood! If you know any sexual health agency, it's probably Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood has branches all around the world. In the US, they provide sexual and reproductive health care, comprehensive sex education for parents and teachers, kind of like me, and they also do advocacy work around women's health, particularly women's reproductive and sexual health. You can donate to Planned Parenthood. You can either donate to the national organization or to a specific local branch. There are also many petitions you can sign, and if there's a Planned Parenthood in your area, get in touch and see if they need any volunteers. Planned Parenthood isn't run by the federal government. However, a big portion of their operating budget does come from federal grant money. With Trump in the White House, a Republican Congress, and a Republican Senate, it's unclear what's going to happen with Planned Parenthood's funding, but public support will help to ensure their future. The Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States. The Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States, or SIECUS as they are known for short, promotes comprehensive sex education throughout the US. You can make a one-time donation to help support the research and work that SIECUS does. In the US, school sex education is mandated by the different states. However, federal government policies and presidential positions on sex education can have a lot of influence on what ultimately happens in schools. The last Republican president, George W. Bush, was a huge advocate of abstinence-only sex education, which has been shown repeatedly to be ineffective. The next Republican president, Donald J. Trump, believes, amongst other things, that sexual assault when you are a powerful or famous man is no big deal. So in my opinion, American students need groups like SIECUS advocating for their education more than ever. The Women of Color Sexual Health Network. The Women of Color Sexual Health Network, or WOCSHN as they're known, are a collective of sexuality professionals who identify as women of color. Their work focuses on supporting the sexual and reproductive needs of other women of color. WOCSHN provides education, counseling, healthcare, as well as providing critical commentary about the sexual and reproductive needs of women of color. They publish journal articles, blog posts, and other works, as well as speaking at conferences and other events. Listen, Trump and his administration have no love for Black and brown folk, especially Black and brown women. I can tell you that working as a sexuality professional is a hard hustle at the best of times, and with all of the racism that Trump and his people have dragged to the surface, it's going to be that much harder moving forward. WOCSHN is made up of some of the best minds in the sexuality field, and these women are going to need as much support as they can get. Obviously, folks living in the US are going to be most affected by Trump and his future plans, but I think we all know that what happens in the US doesn't stay in the US. For the time being, they're still the most powerful and influential country in the world, and Trump's election has had an effect that's been felt globally, including in Canada. In my next video, I will talk about organizations in Canada that could also use some extra support in the wake of Trump's election, and hopefully I won't be so stuffed up during that one. So, until then, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye. We're going to have a look at what consent is, and I'm going to talk about one of those non-sexual consent situations that most of us rock, and how it can help you and the kids in your life get a really firm grasp of how consent can work in relationships.